Why do bad people and liars always win? So interesting. This is a question I got asked several times this week already from several of my clients who clearly are in, let's just call it, not in such a good place, mentally, emotionally, physically, and even spiritually. So, shall we get into this? There's a couple of assumptions about this statement already, like right off the bat, in my opinion, and in my experience when I hear something like that. So many questions just about the statement in itself. And then we're going to actually get into the reality of this and why bad people and liars get away with so much and then ultimately get to quotation mark win. So first question would be, what do you mean by bad people? What quantifies bad people? What's bad people to you? That will be my first question. Is it somebody who broke the law? Is it somebody who was mean to you? Is it somebody who was disrespectful to animals? Like, what do you mean by bad? So that's number one. Liars is a little bit more straightforward, right? Clearly, these people lie and cheat their way through life. Okay. And then also the assumption is that these people win. How do we know that? How do we know that they win? Are you with them 24/7? Like, are you literally living with them, right next to them all the time? And do you know because of that they're actually winning, quotation mark? Because we don't know what happens behind closed doors. We don't know what we might consider winning means. What does that mean to them? So there's a lot of variables here. But let's just take that statement as it is. And here's the reality check about life, just in case you haven't caught on to the program yet, to the rules, how life works, okay? Generally speaking, and again, this is from my experience, this is from my learning, this is from, look, as a hypnotherapist, people typically come to me as a last resort. That means they have already done all kinds of, not just for years, decades of self-development work, self-help work, therapy. They have been told to meditate. They have been medicated. They have been told to do all kinds of coping skills and do their affirmations and who knows what else, only to find out they're still feeling burnt out. Many of them still feel depressed, anxious, living sort of in this survival mode of when's the other shoe gonna drop, are not able to experience deep inner peace, joy, fulfillment, happiness, and then wonder, what am I doing wrong? Well, you're doing nothing wrong. You just haven't been given the tools that actually work. And you also have not yet been informed and awakened to the idea that most people, until they actually are willing and wanting to do the work, okay, this is work, most people don't know that they are allowing, and I'm not accusing them right here, but they're allowing childhood programming to control their adult life. So that's where it starts. And because of that, I explain to my clients, I'm like, look, your level of happiness, wealth, health, relationships, your confidence, your self-esteem, so much of that is determined by a subconscious program that is running the show. And if you're not happy in your life, if you're not getting the results that you want, if you're not experiencing the things that you desire, first stop and step would be, let's take a look at the program that is running your life, subconscious programs. And here's the other thing. This is another very important distinction about why do bad people get away with things and end up winning. Because on this planet, on this earth, as human beings, life actually doesn't care. You can say God doesn't care or the universe doesn't care, depending on where your belief system resides. Life doesn't care if you are a good person or a bad person. Think of, or God, right? Or think of God being sort of in this very unconditional loving state. It's like, I gave you life. This was a gift I gave you. What you do with that is none of my business. I love you regardless. This is why, number one, there is such thing as bad people and good people, okay? Because there is something called free will. And what you do with this thing called life is up to you. And therefore, from a high level, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. Obviously, to you, it might matter. Oh, and by the way, let me also go back to that whole childhood programming. If you grew up, and this is just a joke of the century, or has always, if you grew up like me, and you were told and taught that it's important to be a good person, you have to be a good person, and then when you're a good person, good things are going to happen for you, and life is going to work out, and Prince Charming is going to come along the way, and you're going to make all the money in the world, and you're going to be so happy. Guess what? I have news for you. That doesn't work. That does not work. And we're not talking about moral code, integrity. What does work, okay? Your morals, your integrity, your mission, your passion, the things that are important to you. How do you want to treat people? How do you want to treat animals? How do you want to treat the planet? How do you want to treat plants? Right? That is something you get to decide. And good or bad is a human judgment call. And it is not true that just because you automatically decide to be a good person, good things are going to happen to you. That is not true. Here's what does work, though. The formula, if you want a formula, I'm going to give it to you. Here's the formula that does work. Guaranteed 100%, all the time, every day, with every human being. Contrast, childhood programming, adult programming. You have a choice. When you were a child, okay? You were told and taught certain rules, regulations, expectations. In other words, as a child, for the most part, you were taught to conform, perform, and obey. And along the way, you had plenty of corrections on how you should be, how you shouldn't be, what's right, what's wrong, what you should believe, what kind of religion you should be. Automatically, you just automatically have to believe that religion, that politician, that color, that belief system. And too many people make the mistake that when they become an adult, they don't question any of it. They just go along with the program. Assuming that this is what's right for my soul and this is how I should be, simply because two authority figures that we of course call parents, I don't even know why we do that, but okay, for another time, we automatically then, because when we never wake up, we never question these things, so we continue playing the same program. Okay, I gotta continue believing this about religion and that about life and that about marriage and this about relationships. And for example, we live in a very severely shame-based society. Shame, fear, guilt, okay? This world runs on, I shouldn't say this world. I should say that the systems, the very high systems, use fear, shame, and guilt to control us. Something like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're 30 years old. Why are you not married yet? Why don't you have kids yet? What's wrong with you? As an example. This is like ridiculous. So here's what does work. As an adult, and this, by the way, is where most people have cold feet. They don't have the courage. They don't have the audacity. They don't have, oh yes, and by the way, childhood programming, permission. Okay, everything you do as a child, you need to seek permission. Remember? Right? You were not allowed, obviously, so much of conforming to that allowed you to survive, obviously, because you learned how to be for this person, how to be for that person, and how to conform here, and how to act in school, and how to get it, like literally, just one thing led to another. And remember, you've had at least the first 12 years of your life, you have been heavily brainwashed, bombarded, hypnotized over and over. The reason why hypnosis works so well isn't just because of the repetition, but because of all the suggestions that were placed upon you when you were in a very vulnerable state. Okay? Not gullible, but very highly suggestible, as children are. Children automatically trust authority figures. They automatically listen to their parents. They automatically go along with the group mentality. And then now you have an adult who's not supposedly adult. Where is the, again, that's another question that I have. What quantifies a child? What quantifies an adult? Who made that decision? Where is the break line? Anyhow, that's for, I'm getting sidetracked. Where did we go with this? So wait a minute, I need to back up. So yeah, so you take a little person and you get them used to performing, conforming, obeying, asking permission. Do you know what that will breed? That will breed a perfect conforming citizen that will become a factory worker, period. Which is a term a client once coined. And I love it because really, this is when people became sheeple. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but this is what keeps the society running. And factory worker is a metaphor, obviously. This is what will condition humans to be very good employees that dutifully work for the employer. And we just automatically send our children to school, and we automatically think we should be married by a certain time, and we automatically believe everything culture and society and religion and politician and marketing and commercials and big pharma, literally, and then authority figures. We learn to just automatically conform, never asking questions. Because remember too, as a child, for the most part, you're not allowed to ask questions. Like, how dare you ask? How dare you question authorities like a rabbi or a priest or a lawyer or a teacher? How dare you? Who do you think you are? Yeah. Because children are seen and not heard. Children literally are treated as some sort of a sub-citizen, like minor, like literally minor, as if they matter less, as if they're not as intelligent. Oh, in addition, of course, in our society, we ought to assume automatically that just because somebody is older and because somebody is a senior citizen or because somebody, I don't know, has a certain title, that we should automatically assume that they're smarter and wiser and further evolved, which of course is a whole bunch of BS. I've tested this. Trust me. Well, don't trust me. Do your own homework. Yeah, but wait, there's more. Okay, so catching on? So here's the formula. Yes, I didn't get to the formula. Here's the formula. As an adult, you have the privilege, should you have the audacity, the guts, and the courage, you have the privilege to decide, finally, now that you're an adult, now that everything is on you, all the responsibility is on you, the accountability is on you, earning money is on you, creating your own happiness is on you, fulfillment is on you, picking the person you want to be, everything is on you. And because everything is on you, you get to decide. You get to literally sit, and I highly recommend this. Take time out for yourself from your busy schedule, which I know is a luxury very few people allow themselves to have. Take time out of your schedule and sit down and ask yourself, what do I want? What kind of life do I want to live? What would make my life worth living for? What would absolutely, ultimately, totally, completely make me happy? What is my mission, my purpose, my passion? What makes my heart sing? What is it that I want to pursue? What is it that I want to fight for? What is it that I want to stand for? This is not about being a good person or a bad person. Because I promise you, God forbid, let's say you're married. And let's say you pick the girl. And let's say you're so happy and you're so in love and everything is great. That automatically makes you a bad person. How? Because what if Peter and Paul and John also wanted that girl, but there you came, you swooped in and you took her. I mean, not, don't get me wrong. Do you see? That automatically makes you a bad person. If you got the job because of your credentials or because of your good looks, let's be honest, in this real world, or because you happen to be the right age, you got the job, you got the promotion, you got the income. Well, guess what? That automatically makes you a bad person. Why? Because what if 50 other people were looking to get that same job, but you got it? Interesting perspective, isn't it? It's impossible to live on this planet as a good or a bad person, because everything in our life is a paradox. There's day, there's night, there's good, there's bad, there's male, there's female, there's black, there's white. That trauma, that wasn't good or bad. I promise you, there's something on the other side of that trauma that it served you. Darkness, lightness, evil, and good. So the most powerful thing you can do is begin to live life on your terms, conditions, standards, definitions of success, whatever that means to you, unapologetically. And I promise you, when you begin to do that and no longer wonder and worry so much, what might people think of me? What if they don't approve of me? What if they don't like me? What if they reject me? What if they don't? You cannot live your life with that perspective. Because if that's how you live, you still are bought into childhood programming, seeking permission. What if the teacher doesn't give me a good grade? What if I don't pass this test? What if the bully doesn't like my pants today? You have to stop living according to childhood, and you have to start living for you. And then I promise you, here's the good news. Yes, of course people are going to judge you. Of course people are not going to like it. Certain people. Of course people are going to, they're going to find so many things wrong with your intentions, with your ideas, with your opinions, with your... But the best part, once you begin to live life on your terms, conditions, standards, definitions of success, you no longer apologize. You step into, stand up for, speak up for you. And then you start to stand for something, and you literally are more fascinated and interested and invested in your happiness, your health, your wealth, your life. I promise you, the firmer you can stand in that, the more grounded, the more centered, the more convinced you can be in that, that's when, as if by magic, people that absolutely adore and love you will show up. Fans that want to listen to you will show up. Doors with the perfect opportunities will open up. Synchronicities, coincidences will show up, because you have decided to be in alignment, complete and total, firm, like this is what I want, this is who I am, no longer distracted by the noise, by the childhood programming on how you should be and what's wrong and what's right. Again, obviously, there are things as law and being I'm not saying break the law. Like, let's be, come on. I'm saying though, right? So many people allow childhood programming to control their adult life and wonder why they can't be happy, why they can't find inner peace, why they are miserable, why they feel burnt out. Burnout has nothing to do with the amount of work you have, with the amount of stress you have, with the amount of problems you have in your life, with the amount, nothing. Burnout has all to do with, go back and take a look at how many times did you do something even though you knew you had to compromise a piece of yourself, you had to bend with it, you had to compromise way too much. You know, the phrase is like, oh, you know, I don't quite feel right about it, but okay, I'll do it for you. When actually nothing came back. Because it's one thing when you're in a relationship, of course relationships are about bending with each other, right? Compromising a little bit here, giving a little bit there. But there is a symbiotic, beautiful reciprocity, right? There is a reciprocity that feeds your soul, that feeds your heart, and then of course you do more with each other, and that feels good. But if you have been living, as an example, let's just say your parents decided, and no questions asked, that you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor, you have to take over the family business, but inside you're like, I'm not interested. Like, that's just so not what I want to do with my life. But you compromise yourself. You're like, okay, I guess I have to listen to my parents. I guess I have to make my parents happy, which of course I don't recommend, because it's not your parents' life, it's your life. And your soul is going to pay a big price for that. This is where people often, their spirit gets broken, and then they often end up sick and tired and lonely. Why? Because they have compromised themselves over and over and over, when the truth is that that was not what they stood for. Maybe you had to break the law. Maybe you had to, do some things that just didn't sit well with you. Maybe you did not want to conform to the group. Maybe you were like, no, this just doesn't rub me. For example, this whole college hazing, like, I'm sorry, but this is so primitive. So many of these things are so primitive and barbarian in nature, and it just makes no sense. But people participate because they think they have to, and they should, and then often wonder why they feel empty, why they feel lonely, because that's called self-abandonment, that's called self-abuse, that's called self-neglect. And we have been bred and born and told and taught and brainwashed from day one that our duty is to self-abandon, is to, your opinion doesn't matter, children are seen, not heard, you have to just listen, you have to obey, you have to stand in line, you have to conform. Well, what do you think something like that will cause when a child takes that into adulthood, keeps playing the same program? Yeah, burnout. At least burnout. That's just on the low level. I'm not even talking about the real physical diseases that this turns into. I'm only speaking from experience. So you have a choice. You can either start looking at other people, how they should be living. Why is that person bad? Why are they a liar? Shame on them. You can keep pointing fingers all day long. Judging, blaming, criticizing, shaming. Those people are bad. I should be happy. That's a waste of your energy, waste of your life. It's a waste of your precious potential. Those people should be nice to me. No, they shouldn't be nice to you. They don't owe you anything. Nobody's here to save you. Literally, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody's here to save you. But once you decide that this life is a gift, and what you do with this life is completely up to you, and once you start moving in that direction, I promise you, you will find people that love and worship you and appreciate and adore you. But that can only happen once you flip the script from childhood programming, where it was about conform, obey, perform, and remember to seek permission, to as an adult, if it's gonna be, it's up to me. And either people are gonna join me or get out of my way. And I know this is not the most convenient or comfortable news or suggestions or, facts that I have discovered in time. Actually, not from books, but from having deep, intimate, intrinsic sessions, hypnotic sessions with my clients, where a lot of this was revealed. Because when you connect, not just to your conscious, which is the logic part of the mind, which is important, but when you get to experience and you get to look into the subconscious and then even the superconscious, which, remember, you have inside of you wisdom, knowledge, creativity, potential that I can't put in words to explain to you what that is, how grandiose, how majestic, how incredible that is. But you cannot tap into that in this busy hustle and grind world. No kidding, just another program. It's important to be busy. It's important to be productive. You gotta look, right? Again, another program. Unless you are productive, unless you're working, you literally, our society considers that a loser. Right? Should you be resting in the middle of the day? Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you working? Just as an example, when actually the secret, the wisdom comes to you when you give yourself the time and the space to think and to meditate and to go inside. That's when the answers get revealed to you. I hope this was helpful. And some of you might say, but Susan, doesn't that mean I need to be selfish? Well, that's an interesting word, isn't it? Once again, sounds like a judgment call because in our society, being selfish has a negative connotation, doesn't it? Interesting, isn't it? But wait a minute. If you are hungry and you go get yourself some food, is that selfish or is that being responsible? You breathing in oxygen, is that being selfish, realizing that it's important to breathe? Yeah. Is that selfish or is that you being responsible? Taking care of your health, putting yourself first, doing the workout, drinking the water, breathing fresh air, getting sleep, learning, growing. Is that selfish or is that being responsible? Able, the ability to respond, to recognize you do have needs, you do have wants, you do have desires. Is it other people's job to swoop in and save you and serve you? Or do you think that's your job, especially as an adult? Is that selfish? Or is that the most intelligent, responsible thing you can do? It is not other people's job to sniff out your needs and wants and desires. You as an adult, it is your job to recognize and identify what are your needs, what is your mission, what is your passion, what is your purpose. And I promise you, if you begin to spend a little bit of time with just you and you start to ask these questions, and I promise you the clues are going to be all around you. You're going to get the answers, but you won't get the answers if you never ask. And if you just stay busy in this rat race, there's no answers there. Because literally that's you being seduced that this is what you should be doing. There's no time for you, no time for thinking, no time for feeling, no time for actually getting to know yourself. And that's the last thing they wanted you to do. And I can't tell you how many people say to me, grown people, older people, I don't even know who I am anymore. That's actually probably the most intelligent thing you can say, because how could you possibly know who you are if you never gave yourself permission to ask? And instead, you cater to everybody else because we were raised and bred and born to be people pleasers. Yes, my client calls that factory workers. It's all the same. And if you have a conversation with a person that you consider, okay, you consider really successful, and I'm not just talking money, I'm talking about in their soul, like at peace, a person that has joy, that has peace, that has fulfillment, that feels like, wow, my life is worth living. I promise you, you have a conversation with somebody like that and you ask them like, hey, how did you do that? They will not tell you that they continue to conform and obey and perform. They will tell you, I woke up one day and I started to question everything, which then led them to the answers. I'll see you next time.